Good evening. This is Idowu Shekoni, and reading with me is
Barakat Adekunle.
We're bringing you Newscope, our daily news program of in-depth reports, interviews, and commentaries. First, the highlights. Nigeria's gas reserves soar as oil volumes deep in 2026.
Oyo government details achievements in energy sector.
Fresh tension grips jaws after government relaxes curfew.
29 dead in Russian military plane crash.
Now the news in full. Nigeria's oil reserves recorded a marginal decline in 2026, while gas resources expanded, reflecting a gradual shift in the country's hydrocarbon profile amid sustained production and discoveries. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, disclosed this today in Abuja as it released the nation's official petroleum reserves position as of the 1st of January 2026. In a statement signed by its chief executive, Orishemewa Eyesan, the commission said Nigeria's total oil and condensate reserves stood at 37.01 million barrels, while total gas reserves rose to 215.19 trillion cubic feet. The statement highlighted the Commission's commitment to strengthening upstream performance and ensuring long-term resource sustainability. Explaining the changes recorded within the period, Eyesan noted that crude volumes declined slightly due to production activities during the previous year. It further assured that the NUPRC is committed to its mandate of improving upstream sector performance, enhancing the growth of oil and gas reserves, and ensuring stable production for shared prosperity via the operationalization of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 and implementation of the strategic pillars of the Commission.
The Nigerian Customs Service, NCS, has dismantled a fuel smuggling network along the southwest border corridor, intercepting 14,875 liters of premium motor spirit. PMS across multiple locations including Imeko, Ilara, Ilaro, Idiroko, and the Seme-Badagry axis. The National Coordinator of Operation Whirlwind, Deputy Comptroller Abubakar Aliyu, said the operation led to the recovery of 544 jerrycans, each containing 24 liters, with a duty-paid value estimated at over 14 million naira. He added that the seized fuel has been auctioned in line with regulation to prevent diversion back into illegal channels, while commending the Office of the National Security Advisor for enhancing interagency collaboration. The service reaffirmed its commitment to curbing fuel smuggling and strengthening border security through sustained enforcement operations and strategic coordination.
The federal government has called for greater care in the use of language in security operations, media reporting, and public discourse, warning that vague or misleading terms can deepen divisions and weaken national unity. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, says definitions can reinforce stereotypes and create mistrust between citizens and institutions. Represented by Dili Ezuga, he urged that criminal acts should not be linked to ethnic or religious identities, emphasizing the need for accuracy, responsibility, and fairness in communication. He added that initiatives such as the National Values Charter and ongoing reforms, including plans for state policing and regional collaboration, are aimed at strengthening trust, promoting unity, and enhancing national security.
Meanwhile, media professionals have been urged to adopt strategic communication approaches in shaping political narratives and sustaining public trust in governance. This formed the focus of a media conference organized by GSM Advocate, themed Navigating Oyo State Politics, Strategies for Effective Media Engagement. Our man, Adebayo Abdurrafi, who was at the event held in Ibadan, has the details.
GSM advocates, a body of traditional and digital media practitioners, is not affiliated with any political party, but committed to supporting and promoting the ideals of Engineer Seyi Makinde as a brand. Delivering the keynote address, a former commissioner for information in the state, Dr. Moronkola Thomas, described Governor Seyi Makinde's re-election as a product of effective media engagement, noting that strategic communication played a key role in projecting the administration's achievements. He highlighted ongoing infrastructural development and consistent financial inflow into the state as factors positively impacting the economy and social well-being of residents. Dr. Thomas, however, expressed concern over internal challenges within the People's Democratic Party, describing them as potential threats to the party's future electoral success. He charged media practitioners to intensify grassroots engagement, promote issue-based communication, and sustain public confidence in governance.
I believe that young people like this should continue to show commitment and understanding of the political and governance system. Into that, they will also learn, and in the future they will emerge as the leaders of our society. I commend their efforts, and I believe that they should continue to encourage the governor to provide good governance as he's been doing, and to support him in ensuring that OBT2 3.0 is delivered in this state, so that the dividends of democracy that our people have been enjoying will continue as they have been advocating.
Also speaking, the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor and Special Advisor on Media, Dr. Sulaiman Olanrewaju, underscored the critical role of the media in shaping public perception and strengthening democratic processes. He urged participants to effectively communicate government policies and achievements, noting that consistent and credible messaging is essential in maintaining public trust.
What has Makinde done? You can talk about the roads, you can talk about the employment, you can talk about the PACs, you can talk about human capital development, you can talk about so many things that is done. So that is the selling point. Now, what kind of person is he? He's a compassionate leader. Anytime there's a crisis, he rises up to the occasion. Recently, he announced 10,000 naira transport allowance, just to cushion the effect of this hike in transport fare and fuel. So that's the kind of person he is. So you can market him, you can talk about him as a compassionate leader.
In a goodwill message, the chairman of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, in Oyo State, Honorable Sikiru Sanda, encouraged media practitioners to remain professional and committed, assuring them of continued support. Earlier in his opening remarks, the director of GSM Advocates and chairman Oluyole Local Government, Engineer Akim Olatunji, said the group has, over the past 6 years, remained committed to promoting the policies and programs of the Makinde administration in the interest of the people.
Governor Seyi Makinde has so many achievements to his credit, and our own responsibility is to ensure that it's well known to the good people of Oyo State. And you know that for continuity's sake, people need to be well informed about what Governor Seyi Makinde is doing and how he meant well for the good people of Oyo State. And we decided to gather ourselves. We are a bunch of professionals in different fields that comes together as like minds, and we share in the vision of Governor Seyi Makinde, because it has never been so good for your state like this.
Highlights of the event included the presentation of awards to notable personalities, including Honorable Akintunde Olajide, Reverend Idowu Ogedengbe, Dr. Moronkola Thomas, Dr. Sulaiman Olanrewaju, and Honorable Sikiru Sanda, among others. Adebayo Abdurrafi, BCOS News.
The Deputy Speaker of House of Representatives, Benjamin Kanu, today renewed his support for the creation of an additional Southeast state, calling on the promoters to consider the adoption of Anyoma as a way forward. Anyuma is a combination of Anambra, Imo, and the proposed Anyuma state, a new state proposal for the Igbo-speaking part of the Delta. Mr. Kalu made this known today while receiving stakeholders of the Anyuma state movement who were in his office on a courtesy visit. According to him, the creation of a new state cannot be achieved in isolation, noting that the importance of collaboration with governors and key stakeholders across both the Southeast and South-South regions cannot be overemphasized. The Deputy Speaker further noted that while the proposal is achievable, its success depends on stakeholders' willingness to engage constructively and promptly. He highlighted the importance of a humanitarian approach in the discussions, noting that the process requires patience, understanding, and empathy.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. The Oyo State government has intensified efforts to reposition its electricity sector, leveraging recent legal reforms and fresh investments aimed at boosting power supply and driving economic growth in the state. The Commissioner for Energy and Chairman, Oyo State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Professor Daud Shagudoyi, made this known while outlining the administration's achievements in the energy sector during a press briefing held at the Governor's Office, Secretariat Agodi, Ibadan. According to him, the state governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, established the Oyo State Electricity Regulatory Commission in 2024 to oversee and manage the state's electricity market in line with the new law. Professor Shagudoyi further revealed that the state has begun opening its electricity market to private investors, with nearly 30 investors already indicating interest. He, however, noted that Oyo State requires a minimum of 520 megawatts of electricity to drive economic growth, but currently generates about 182 megawatts, with supply fluctuating between 150 and 180 megawatts. He emphasized that the Commission is now the sole regulatory authority for electricity operations within the state, stressing that no operator, including existing distribution companies, can function without obtaining the Commission's license. The Commissioner also highlighted key initiatives aimed at improving power supply, including the electrification of critical infrastructure such as government institutions. These include the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Government House, the State Secretariat, courts and schools through the Independent Power Project IPP, with plans to extend coverage across other zones of the state. Responding to criticisms describing the state power projects as failed, Professor Shagudoyi dismissed such claims, stating that the 11 megawatts IPP had been completed and partially operational. He explained that about 5 megawatts of electricity was supplied to critical infrastructure, including the Agodi Secretariat, for approximately 5 months during its testing phase.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has been likened to a referee in a football match. While politicians are seen as the players, its role is to ensure compliance with electoral rules, though its powers are limited when those rules are disregarded. This view was expressed by social commentator Badejoko Adesumbo and the chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Oyo State, Mr. Okpeyemi Akiade, during a discussion on INEC and political parties, preparations ahead of 2027 on BCS Current Affairs Program, AM 120. Our reporter, Fedora Afolagbe, report.
As Nigeria moves close to the 2027 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission and political parties are stepping up preparations with emphasis on voter mobilization, candidate selection, and electoral reforms aimed at ensuring a credible, transparent, and peaceful process. Speaking on BCOSA 120, social commentator Badejoko Adesumbo observed that discussions around the 2027 elections began as early as 2024, giving the impression of a nation preparing for elections for the first time. While acknowledging ongoing efforts by both INEC and political parties, he expressed limited expectations of the electoral body, urging politicians to abide by established rules, avoid undue pressure on INEC, and act in ways that will not disappoint Nigerians.
You know, I don't really blame INEC that much. INEC is like a referee in a football game. It is the players that will play the game. They have to play by the rules. The work of the referee is to enforce that the player, ensure that the players play by the rule. If they refuse, there's little or nothing that the referee can do about that. The best it can do, or the worst, is to stop the game and to discontinue the match. So that's the situation with INEC. And our politicians are the players in this game. Oftentimes they've refused to play by the rule. They want to set their own rule. They want to do things in their own way, even though there are laid down guidelines that they are supposed to follow. And because of that, they hardly agree with the guidelines set by INEC. And so they look for excuses to always blame INEC for their own lapses. And that has always been the problem with our electioneering process.
Also speaking, the chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council in Oyo State, Mr. Opeyemi Akiande, explained that IPAC functions strictly as an advisory body and has continued to guide political parties appropriately. He addressed the issue of voter apathy, noting that although it may not be completely eliminated, it must be significantly reduced as it weakens democratic processes, undermines credible elections, and tarnishes Nigeria's image internationally.
Primary will start this month, this April. They should be getting prepared to choose a rightful candidate. And by the time the campaign door is open, they should ready, and they should be ready to get themselves involved in looking out for who are the people that want to follow them in their campaigns. For example, we have discussed it at the IPAC level that any political party that engage thuggery in their campaigning will be held responsible. So I should expect any political party by now to be getting their members, a reliable member that will go in line with their campaigns.
Both guests called on community and religious leaders, as well as the media, to intensify advocacy against voter apathy, while urging political actors to strictly adhere to electoral guidelines. Fidora Afolagui, BCOS News.
There is heightened tension in Jos, Plateau State, today following the relaxation of the 48-hour curfew imposed by the Plateau State government. The state government eased the curfew earlier imposed on the Jos North local government area following improved security in the state. Plateau State Commissioner for Information, Joyce Ramnap, in a statement explained that the curfew would now run from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily, effective today, 1st of April, to allow residents to attend to their normal activities. However, the relaxation of the curfew failed to ease tensions in Jos, as hoodlums and an irate mob reportedly attacked many motorists and passers-by in different parts of the city of Jos, causing fresh fear and panic among residents.
Operatives of the Department of State Services today took former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai into custody moments after proceedings at the Federal High Court in Kaduna. El-Rufai, standing trial over alleged corruption, had just concluded a hearing on his bail application filed by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) when DSS operatives bundled him into a waiting vehicle and drove him away, reportedly heading to Abuja. The heavy DSS presence around the court before the hearing had fueled speculation that the former governor might be taken into custody. After the proceedings, lead defense counsel Oluyole SAN confirmed that the court had fixed the 14th of April for a ruling on the bail application. He also noted that the defense team is prepared for a related case scheduled for the 10th of April at the Federal High Court in Abuja, describing it as, quote, a separate matter, End of quote.
On the foreign scene, a Russian military plane has crashed in the occupied Ukrainian peninsula of Crimea, killing 29 people on board. Foreign desk editor Folashade Akitola compiled the detail and other story as presented by Khadija Lawal.
Wreckage of An-26 aircraft was found on Tuesday after the plane lost contact with authorities during a routine flight, according to the ministry. It blamed a technical failure and reported no external damage to the aircraft, implying that missiles, drones, or birds are not suspected of causing the crash. 7 crew members and 23 passengers had been on board as it flew over the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula, which Russia illegally annexed in 2014. Russia's investigative committee confirmed the crash and said it had opened an inquiry into a flight safety violation. Ukraine has not commented on the crash. The An-26 is a Soviet-era aircraft mainly used in a military capacity to transport heavy cargo and smaller numbers of passengers over a short to medium distance. It is manufactured by the Ukrainian aerospace company Antonov. Meanwhile, at least 7 people have been killed in Israeli attacks on Beirut's southern suburbs and a nearby town, according to Lebanon's Ministry of Public Health, as Hezbollah continues to fight an Israeli ground invasion in the south of the country. An Israeli raid hit Beirut's Jinnah area, killing at least 5 people and injuring 21, the ministry said today. A separate strike late on Tuesday hit Calde, just south of the capital, killing 2 people and injuring 3. The state-run press also reported a strike on Wednesday morning on the Adat district in Beirut's southern suburbs, which had largely been emptied of residents following repeated Israeli attacks and forced displacement orders. The Israeli military said it had aimed to kill a senior Hezbollah commander, but the Lebanese armed group has not confirmed or denied the assassination. And lastly, President Donald Trump has said the United States could stop attacking Iran within 2 or 3 weeks, and that a deal is not necessary to end a war that has disrupted energy supplies and shaken the global economy. His comments came as Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs Abbas Araghchi told the press on Tuesday that no negotiations are going on with Washington despite direct and indirect exchanges of messages, nearly 5 weeks after the US and Israel began attacking Iran. Trump, who previously claimed that Iran was engaged in negotiations and begging for a deal, appeared to change his tune on Tuesday on the alleged diplomatic drive. He said Iran doesn't have to make a deal when asked by reporters at the White House if successful diplomacy was a prerequisite for the US to wind down the conflict. Iran has always maintained that its nuclear activities are peaceful and that it has never sought to produce a nuclear weapon. Khadija Lawal, BCS News.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the top stories. Nigeria's oil reserves recorded a marginal decline in 2026, while gas resources expanded, reflecting a gradual shift in the country's hydrocarbon profile amid sustained production and discoveries.
The Oyo State government, through the Commissioner for Energy and Chairman of Oyo State's Electricity Regulatory, Professor Daoud Shangodoyin, has outlined the administration's achievement in the energy sector during a press briefing held at the Governor's Office, Secretariat, Agodi, Ibadan.
There is heightened tension in Jos, Plateau State, today following the relaxation of the 48-hour curfew imposed by the Plateau State government.
On the foreign scene, a Russian military plane has crashed in the occupied Ukrainian peninsula of Crimea, killing 29 people on board.
That's all from the Newscope desk for now. It was packaged by Mary Adedakbo and delivered by
Barakat Adekunle
and Ido Shekoni. Thanks for listening, and do not forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening.
about to listen to the hottest sound. 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 98.5 FM. Ibadan. You're listening to the Urban Frequency. To listen to the hottest sound. 5, 5, 4,